How does screen time addiction look in children, in teens?
Well,
what does that look like?
It's funny because it's different with every kid.
Okay.
And we've had parents that wanted to send their kid to our program. One mom last year, for example, and she said her kid was playing video games way too much. But he also was on the debate team, the volleyball team, had a part-time job, and got straight A's. And I said, that's kind of the victory lap for us.
You're like, that's good.
That's good. Yeah, I understand he plays too many video games, but it sounds like he has a good, healthy life balance. The kids that we work with, typically the boys are video game addicts and the girls are Instagram, kind of social media influencer wannabes. Not always, sometimes we have boys that go that way and sometimes we have girl gamers.
Yes.
But typically that's the breakdown. And, we kind of define addiction as, when a parent says, how do I know if my kid's addicted? I'll say, well, do they show up to dinner? Are they staying up till 2 a.m? Are they secluded in their rooms? Are they withdrawn from family activities? Pretty much by the time a parent asks me if they have an addiction issue, they already know.
And like you said, it presents differently for each child. And I love that opening story that you had. That describes my middle son perfectly. He loves to game. And I get annoyed when he's gaming. He's got his headphones on. He built his computer, but he's on the water polo team. He plays water polo 4 hours a day. He has straight A's. He's helpful in the house. I know that I can't. It's not an actual addiction. It's an annoyance for me.
But in today's world, that's a good balance.
That's a good balance. When do you worry? I know that you've talked publicly about your own son's addiction to gaming, and that led you to start Reset. What were the early warning signs?
Well, he's 32 now.
Oh, wow.
But when he was 13, 14, he was addicted to World of Warcraft, which was one of the very first online multiplayer games. And his mother and I really didn't understand how addictive it had become. It had really gobbled up his entire life. And he was starting to fail at school. His eating habits were horrible. He was diagnosed with ADD, so he was on different kind of meds that kind of killed his appetite and suppressed his personality. And I have a whole different attitude about kids being overdiagnosed with ADD. But it was really just a struggle, and there was no such program. I didn't know about wilderness therapy, not that he would have been a good candidate for that. We weren't in a position to send him to a boarding school, therapeutic boarding school, and there was nothing like Reset. So we just white-knuckled him through high school, and it was a daily struggle. I mean, every single day to get him to just finish high school. And luckily now, he's a successful adult, but it was a battle. And that has always stuck with me in terms of, because I was always a summer camp guy. So I'm running summer camps, and I'm running traditional summer camps, boys and girls, archery, swimming, horseback riding, fun summer camp stuff. And I would get kids signing up for next year before this year was over. So, we'd be full by November for next summer. And then thinking about my son and his struggles, it occurred to me that maybe I could take my love for summer camp and the transformative effect it has and add like a clinical detox program to reach kids that aren't going to go to summer camp because they'd rather just stay home and play games or be on their social media or whatever. So I started Reset, I think about 8 years ago now. And it was a learning curve. We took pretty much every kid the first year, and we had, kids that definitely needed a different kind of treatment than we were offering. And now it's pretty streamlined and pretty well established. But, we take kids, we have a very intense screening process. You can't just sign your kid up and send them to camp. We have about 35 questions that parents have to answer, and then they have to be reviewed by myself and by our clinical director. And really what we're looking for is, are the parents lying about anything? Are there medications the kid's on that they're not telling us about? Are there behavioral issues that the kids are not telling us about? And can they successfully complete the program? That's really my protocol. I know they don't want to do the program. None of the kids who come to my program want to be there, which is much different than a traditional summer camp. They're all forced to be there. They're being punished. They hate me. They hate their parents. They hate the staff.
Oh, that's a tough place to start from.
Yeah, but it also kind of creates a tribal mentality. They all don't want to be there.
Okay.
So they are all in dorm rooms with other kids. So they're sharing a room, which they usually don't have at home. And the other kid doesn't want to be there either. So they both bond over their hatred of us and their parents.
Us versus them, yes.
Yeah. And it creates an us versus them. So we can kind of work with that. Great. And it works out really good. And it's amazing to me how after a week of good sleep and good nutrition and no screens, how the anxiety drops, the depression drops, the energy comes back. You know, when they first arrive, they're all looking down. They don't make eye contact.
Yes.
They speak in abbreviations, you know, and they don't talk to each other. They don't talk to the staff. They have lost the ability to communicate in person. Everything is a text message these days.
Right.
So by the end of the week, they're actually creating relationships with the staff and the other campers because they have no other choice. So by the end of a month, it's the new normal for them. And they all want to get back to their games and they all want to get back to their phones, but they have reset, which is why we called it that, into who they were before they got lost in digital addictions. And then it's really up to the parents to maintain that program going forward.
Okay, so it's a month-long experience for them.
Yes.
And then do you have things in place so then you're teaching them how to go about screen time, social media, gaming responsibly, or to recognize those signs of addiction? Like, do they understand? I mean, it really is an addiction, just like it can be for like alcohol or drugs or anything.
We have a
else.
lot of classes. We don't do much the first week because they're not paying attention anyway.
Right.
And you know, we go to bed at 9:30 with lights out at 10, and we wake them up at 6:30. Well, kids who are used to being up till 2 a.m. are not sleepy at 9:30, and they hate being woken up at 6:30. So I mean, it takes about a week to get them on the right sleep schedule. So you know, we have a really good culinary program. But we're doing, you know, oatmeal and salad the first week. We're not doing anything challenging because they're not paying attention anyway. But by the third and fourth week, they're actually making full dinners. And we'd send them home with a recipe book and tell the parents, have them make what they made at camp for you at home. So we teach them how to cook. We teach them smart shopping. We have a financial literacy class. It's called What's Your Financial Footprint? And we have them raise their, you know, how many times do you go to Starbucks? How many online platforms are you subscribing to? How many games do you know, and who's paying for that? Chances are it's not them.
Right.
And typically we average about $5,000 a month from their raising their hands and guesstimating what things cost. And my conversation to them is, when you turn 18 or 20 or whenever you leave home, who's going to pay for that? And how are you going to pay for that?
For more tips on eye health, parenting, and staying focused in a busy world, follow me on Instagram at Dr. Rupa Wong or head to drrupawong.com. Until next time, keep your vision clear, your priorities focused, and your family thriving.